Go ham. Look at the damage on this. Look at the damage on this. Oh my. Go, 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 go. Oh my god, look at the damage my plasma's doing. As long as I get executes off with this, this is ridiculous. This Plasma Incinerator Tactical Marine build is one of the strongest and, in my opinion, most enjoyable builds to play, offering yourself an insanely high amount of DPS with or without Auspex scan. Gunstrike him! Scanning him! Destroying him! Deleting him! Go. And, of course, you can also offer that Auspex scan to your teammates for that sweet, sweet 200% increase to damage. As with the bolt rifle grenade launcher setup, you can manipulate the battlefield to your advantage, ensuring that your plasma is always topped off with energy with a very specific set of perks. More on those later, folks, and you can create yet another incredibly well-rounded tactical marine build that destroys the battlefield, keeps your health topped off, and supports your teammates too. Couple this with the correct bolt, pistol, and chainsword setup, and you can create a really powerful attack rotation that will delete elites in one fell swoop. Now, I will be honest, folks, this weapon did have me a little bit puzzled at first, and it took me a while to figure out how to get it to shine truly. And from speaking to members of my community on stream, it's become apparent that a lot of players are either completely disregarding the plasma entirely due to a specific issue, which I'll go over in a moment, or they're simply choosing the wrong type of plasma incinerator and building it in a slightly suboptimal way. You can splatter and stagger large groups of chaff enemies, stun lock and trivialize termis enemies, and, as you've already seen in the intro, just completely annihilate boss encounters. And of course, where this build truly shines is its ability to make mincemeat of elite enemies, including Chaos Space Marines, which allows us to harvest them for our own resources. This build works superbly at both close and medium range, and is an absolute blast to play. The playstyle for this build is very simple. Utilize fully charged shots as often as possible at clusters of Minoris and Majoris enemies from medium range to neutralize them when possible. Once you've incapacitated an elite, either opt to execute them, which is the usual preferred choice when regaining armor, or pick them off with your bolt pistol. As we're using Emperor's Vengeance as one of our non-negotiable perks, every time we kill a Majoris enemy, we replenish an entire mag for our weapon. As our plasma only has one battery, this counts for the entire thing. Now, players have run into a problem with this perk with the plasma, and in its current state, it does not seem to work with the plasma when it's equipped. I'm not sure if this is intended. The bolt rifle works fine, but this may have something to do with the fact that grenades are on an alternative fire mode. Either way, with that being said, do not write this weapon off, folks. You can easily remedy this by using the bolt pistol, either from range or just by making sure that it's in your hand when you perform an execute. I would also advise that whilst the plasma is incredibly effective at range, do not write this thing off in close quarters, folks, especially against Tyranids. Actively seek gun strikes against warriors after a series of parries and instantly charge up the weapon to full to shoot them in the head. Getting those charged shots off as quickly as possible is imperative in this build, which is why we build our plasma in a very specific way. More on that in a moment, folks. And as we're using Relentless Pursuit, which gives us an additional 25% damage after landing a gun strike, this further elevates the damage this fully charged shot can do. And as if that wasn't already enough, this can be further enhanced by our choice of perk, Plasma Boost, and this gives us an additional 30% plasma damage when the plasma is overheated by 50%. Now that's a lot of damage, and this is why it's incredibly important to keep an eye on your plasma's heat gauge and check what levels it at. Try and get your heat gauge to stay around the 50% mark and above to keep getting that optimal damage against bosses and elites. It makes a massive difference. It all counts, folks. And as usual, getting the Auspex scan off is the icing on the cake here, folks, providing us with that 200% increased damage every time we drop this. Teams with snipers and heavies and vanguards have an absolute blast with this because their perk choices allow us to recharge and use this ability very often. It goes without say that this setup can do serious work against boss enemies such as Helldrake, Neurothropes, Zonethropes, Hive Tyrants, and it's moments like this that make Space Marine 2 such a blast to play. Speaking of which, which, if you're looking to acquire Space Marine 2, our channel sponsor, Instant Gaming, can offer you this and other exciting titles such as Black Myth Wukong at insanely discounted prices. Instant Gaming is 100% legit because they acquire all their keys directly from the source, providing you authenticity without compromise, and this is reflected in their 4.7 Trustpilot score from over 720,000 reviews. Instant Gaming is not just another key marketplace, folks. Everything comes from authorized sellers. In terms of Space Marine 2, if you're looking to pick up the standard edition of the game, you can grab this for a reduced cost of $52, which is down from $67. So, if you want to save some money on video games and support me and the Phase Shift community as we take on the Tyranid scum, click on the link in the description or the pinned comment below and enjoy those juicy Instant Gaming discounts. Now, back to the video. Moving on to the perks, and I'm going to point you in the direction straight away to Plasma Boost. This gives us 30% increased damage when our Plasma Incinerator is 50% overheated or more, and admittedly, this does not mean it's going to be up permanently. You do have to manage this and have some forward planning, and it certainly isn't easy to do, and there are times when it's just not possible. So if that is not a good idea in your mind, then you can go for a safer option, which is balanced distribution. For the more balanced approach, of course, which gives your primary weapon a flat 10% increase to damage and your secondary a decrease of 10%. It's up to you, folks. I just like playing with game mechanics, and I hadn't used it before, so I've been running this with Plasma Boost, and I've been having an absolute blast. It's really effective when you're in boss fights, and you've got more uptime of those charge shots firing, and in big group fights. It's just more fun to play, in my opinion, and I'm a sucker for game mechanics, so that's why. In the second column, we've got Relentless Pursuit, so after a gun strike, range damage increases by 25% for 5 seconds. This works incredibly well with that strategy I mentioned earlier in the video. You parry a warrior, you get a gun strike off, and you fully charge your Plasma Incinerator, and you get the shot off. It's devastating. It can stun them into incapacitation straight away. If you've got 50% overheat going on, see you later. In the third column, it'll come as no surprise, Emperor's Vengeance. Killing a Majoris enemy or higher restores your primary weapon's ammo by 1 magazine. Our plasma runs off 1 battery, and that counts. There is a little bit of a weird interaction going on that doesn't measure up. Maybe it's a bug, so you're having to, at the moment, switch to your bolt pistol to make sure that you either get the shot for the kill or perform the execute with the bolt pistol equipped. That's what gets it back, folks. It's a little bit annoying at first, but you soon get used to it, and it adds a little bit more layer to how you play. In this one, there are 2 choices for me. There's either a line down for that flat 5% increase to damage, if that's what you're bothered about. I've found me and my squad using transhuman physiology quite a lot because it allows all of us to restore 30% more contested health. It just ups the survivability quite noticeably, actually. And on the next one, Vital Data's the way I go, folks, and that's purely because I just like killing bosses, and we're often doing runs on stream with viewers, getting them resources and helping them farm, so having that Auspex scan up more often in those fights and having the recharge there just really helps, folks. You can, of course, choose to go with the 8-second increase for priority targeting. That would work as well. You could even try target lock. I think this is probably one of the more flexible columns in the builds, to be honest. Moving on to the next one, precise calibration for that 75% increase to damage, but the 25% radius decreases there. I think it's a completely viable trade-off. I think it's totally worth it, and it pairs superbly with expert timing, giving us 100% increased damage. And if you're running in a setup with a sniper and a Vanguard, for example, which is what I often do, and I would advise people to try and get a sniper in their squad when they can, particularly. I've been doing some solo runs with AI and practicing with Battle Focus a little bit, and I find that actually when you're playing solo, Battle Focus is actually quite a fun one to use. It just gives you more reliability, and you might want to use Battle Focus if you're playing with randoms and you know that the randoms aren't particularly equipped in the best way and they're not going to listen to you asking for ability charge, synergy and that kind of thing. It does work out, folks. The way I play with my team, we just tend to always have Auspex scan up, and that's why it's so effective. And then finally, Marked for Death. It's a no-brainer. You can one-shot Lictors, you can one-shot Ravagers, you can one-shot Zoanthropes every 122nd if you land an Auspex scan. And with the rate this is up for, it's a no-brainer, folks. Our choice of Plasma Incinerator is Gathalamore's Crusade, and that is simply because of the plus 10 firepower and the plus 6 venting speed. We don't need to worry about ammo capacity because of the Emperor's Vengeance perk, ensuring that we are constantly being topped off. In terms of the perks, I'll whiz through these really quickly, and the key headline is, folks, we are trying to get our charge shots off as quickly as possible. That is where the damage lies, and that is why we want to be getting full charge as quickly as possible. We're going all the way across the top row, folks, and instead of going all the way to the end, what we actually do is we go off to the top here to get the 15% faster shot charge, and we go down to get the projectile speed of charge shot being increased by 25%, so we can get charge shots from plasma weapons to use 2 less energy. Now, I will say I've done some testing around this, and I'm actually scratching my head a little bit as to whether that is fully necessary. You could just opt to go to the bottom one there for projectile speed of charge shots increased, or you could maybe look at generating less heat or a bit of damage radius increase. I think there's a bit of flex in here, folks, and I'd be really interested actually to hear your thoughts on this. I did also have an alternative route which started at the bottom with the venting speed. I did actually have an alternative route here that started at the bottom as well for the fast venting speed into Rampage. Now, on paper, that sounds great. Killing 10 enemies in rapid succession with the Plasma Incinerator. I personally haven't had much luck with it. Maybe you have. Again, let me know in the comments. But if you wanted to try that out, you could go across the bottom for the first 3 and then up and play around with the same route accordingly. The choice is yours, folks. In terms of our bolt pistol choice, we want to go with Aphelion Liberation Beta because it's got the highest firepower output. We won't be using it for anything other than administering gun strikes, so we just want the highest damage output possible there, folks. And in terms of the perks, we're going along the bottom row first. Great Might gives us 10% against Terminus enemies. Then we're going into Retaliation. A perfectly timed dodge will allow you to deal 25% more damage. Great for a gun strike. Followed up by Iron Grip. After a gun strike, recoil is reduced by 35%. Then Divine Might, 10% increased damage. Then Extended Mag for an extended mag. Headhunter for 10% headshot damage. Then Elite Hunter. After killing a Majoris level enemy or higher with a melee weapon, headshots deal 50% more damage for 5 seconds. And then finally, Headhunter for another 10% more headshot damage. Our choice of Chainsword is Aquilian Dedication. The reason being, it's got fencing as its defense. It just makes those timing windows for parries much more forgiving, and that's what you want to be getting off as much as possible. In terms of the perk tree, I've just gone straight along the bottom, folks, and I don't put too much weight on this, but it's just because you get increased melee damage, followed by heavy attacks restoring 100% more contested health. This applies to the following attacks: Quick Punch, Front Kick, Shoulder Bash, Stomp. All those heavy attacks give us loads more life leech, which is a really nice touch. Then we've got Perpetual Strength. Then we've got Sawblade. The combo length is shortened from 5 to 4. Then we've got Tyrannid Slayer, some more damage against Tyranids. You could go to the Chaos one if you're fighting Chaos. Then we've got Menorah Slayer, increased damage against Menorah's enemies. Full Throttle lets you change your attack. I very rarely use this. If someone's using it, let me know in the comments if I'm missing a trick somewhere. I feel like it's not really worth it. Extremist Slayer, melee damage against Extremist level enemies increases by 15%. And finally, Kill Streak. After killing 10 enemies in rapid succession with a light combo, you don't lose control upon taking heavy hits. Again, I don't use it that much, folks, in this build, but it's there if you want to try it. If you've got any thoughts about the Chainsword on the tactical, then just sound off in the comments below. If you're looking for an insanely powerful bolt rifle grenade launcher build, then check out this next video. It's got you covered. Take care of yourselves. Let me know in the comments which Space Marine 2 class you'd like me to cover next. I'm going to be doing a melter build, and then I'll be moving on. Keep having fun, and I'll see you in the next one.